Hear me okay? Sure. Great. You got the audio right, Gabe? Cool. Well, guys, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you to Amanda and Gabe and everybody in the Concho Valley Technology Alliance for inviting us to do this. I've attended a couple of these, no more than a couple of their presentations, guest speakers. Gabe gave a really good one on cybersecurity last month, something like that. And we had one at the COG that was about the spaceport project and the exploration of that idea. And so there's I think a really good fit with the Concho Valley Technology Alliance's mission and just the mindset of those that would participate in that kind of thing with amateur radio. I've got a lot of folks that are here. Raise your hand if you're here from the Ham Radio Club so that everybody else can see, who all's a ham radio operator. And folks, if I ask a question, ham guys and gals, let's let everybody else answer it. How's that? 7. Don't answer all my cool questions in advance and not give somebody else a chance to do it. So the talk that I want to give tonight is about amateur radio in the Concho Valley. And we'll talk about the history that's there and the ways that amateur radio is still really on the cutting edge of modern technology. The purpose and mission of amateur radio, as designated by the FCC, is the advancement of the state of the radio art. So everybody's heard the term state of the art, right? So the ham radio community is tasked with advancing the state of the art in radio. And I'll give you some examples of how that's been done really starting 100 years ago here in the Concho Valley. So excited about that. Again, I'm Dave Mulvey. I'm the VP of the Radio Club. By day, I'm an innovation project manager at Shannon Hospital. And really what that means is I'm helping to implement software and programs to get things up to speed. New ERP, we did an Oracle implementation last year. I'm working on some new software projects that'll advance some business processes that we have. I'm not so clinical, but mostly the business side. I worked for Time Clock Plus from 2007 to 2018. I moved to San Angelo in 2009, so I grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth, and that's where I started working for Time Clock Plus. And I was a business development manager and sales. And so I know Janice from TCP too. There's probably more, I don't know. But really cool company. I'm glad for the time that I spent there. And then I went to go work for an ERP software for K-12 schools. And now really having a lot of fun at Shannon doing those kinds of things. Tonight is my 10th wedding anniversary. My wife's not here. Well, she's kind of here. Yes, let's give her a round of applause for putting up with this. She's here on my socks. How's that? You might have some mental image of like what being a ham radio operator is, and I know I did. And guess what? This is not my reality. My wife is not bringing me beers in my ham shack, which is unfortunate. She does tolerate this hobby. She does have a ham radio license, but only because of her work. She manages the communications center at Shannon Hospital. I don't think she's ever talked on the ham radio side. So God bless her, and I don't know how she does it, but yeah. So this is a beer ad from a magazine in the 60s. This is more like my reality, although that desk is still way too clean. A ham shack is usually a little messier than that. So today I'll talk a little bit about what is ham radio, my experience as a ham radio operator, how I kind of came to that, what does it mean to be a ham, an amateur radio operator. We'll do a little science class, there'll be some science content. I've got some really cool stories of the last century of radio advancement in the Concho Valley. And that's commerce, that's public safety, public service, innovation. There are some groundbreaking folks that got their start as ham radio operators in the Concho Valley. And we'll talk a little bit about the public service value in amateur radio. So okay, go ahead and raise your hand if you do have that license. so everybody can see who has a ham radio license. And we'll talk about what a license is and why we need it. Is there anybody here that's kind of already been thinking about it and maybe wants to do it? Couple, 1, 2, 3. That's that, yeah. Cool. Let's see if we can double that number by the end of this talk. We'll see how good a job I do. Because I think that, where is that thing? There we go. I think everybody in this room is a ham and just doesn't know it yet. What's that?
I gave it, sorry.
Oh yeah, no. Well, ham, like, yeah, okay. Amateur radio operator. So, and we don't know where that term came from. It's probably like some kind of acronym for hobby, amateur, that kind of thing. And we'll talk more about distinguishing that from other radio services and that. But the reality is that, like I said, CBTA embodies what it means to be an amateur radio enthusiast, which is you're looking for the latest technology, you like solving puzzles and problems, you like talking with other people about it, you like collaborating about it, but probably also you really enjoy that alone time, focusing on a project and zoning out and getting in that flow state and learning something new. I'm going to take a risk and say that neurodivergence is common in the amateur radio community. The radio spectrum is not the only spectrum at play here. And I think that benefits the hobby a lot. Amateur radio is interdisciplinary, that you can learn so much from all the different disciplines that you'll get into. Did I think I was going to have to learn how to calculate how many gallons of water would pour on a certain roof in a 3-inch rainstorm in an hour? No, I didn't think that, but guess what happened at our clubhouse? It got flooded, and so we started thinking about how to manage that water, right? And these are just the kinds of problems that amateur radio mindset, that approach of solving a problem, putting a pencil to paper, putting a calculator to it, doing some research, and finding your friends that are experts, like my friend Sergio, who works for USGS and knows something about water flows. Anyway, but that's just an example of the interdisciplinary nature of this. Radios are really a deep part of what we do today. I don't want any of the club members to speak, but does anybody want to take a guess at how many radios are in this room right now?
25.
25? It's not a bad guess. There's about 25 people in here. I'm going to guess every one of them's got a cell phone. But let's start there and say that's more like 75 or 100, because there's about 4 radios in every cell phone. You got your Bluetooth, you got your Wi-Fi chip, you got the cellular chip. There's at least 3 or 4 antennas in there. The GPS antenna, perfect. And then if you've got some earbuds, there's another couple. And well, let's start with the wireless microphones and the Wi-Fi. If you could visualize the RF spectrum in here, it would be like being at a rock concert with the audio. Like if you could hear the RF spectrum, it would be absolute cacophony of sounds, right? And that just speaks to the number of signals that are in the air today, and it's not going to change. The radio spectrum is a finite. When I say spectrum, I mean like from DC voltage to light. And every frequency in between, it's going to be, that's a wide spectrum, but when you start slicing it and businesses start using it to throw satellites in the air and start doing high-speed internet, and you've got land mobile radio, and you've got everybody's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, it starts to get pretty slim there. So, yeah. The ham radio operators are really STEM before STEM was STEM. Like, we'll talk about some folks that started out in the 20s, and these are the kind of guys that would have a 3D printer in their house today, and would be operating like mesh-tastic nodes and things like that. So the mindset is really universal. Before I keep going on my presentation, I want to preview a few events that are coming up, because I'll be referring to some of these events throughout the talk. So tomorrow night, this is just something our club is sponsoring. If you have or haven't seen the movie Contact, starring Jodie Foster, that's playing at 7 p.m. at the Brooks and Bates Theater. as part of the KCSA Downtown Movie Night. There's some ham radio content in there, and it's a really good movie too. Is anybody involved with the COAD, the Community Organizations Active in Disaster? So I'm going to go to that meeting. If you want to go, let me know. But that's basically a lot of nonprofits in our area that work on disaster planning and response. Field Day coming up on Saturday, June 27th. I'm going to refer a lot to Field Day during this conversation. Field Day is basically the ham radio open house. It's like our annual event. Everybody around the country is going to be operating ham radio and opening up their doors to the public to kind of display what we do. We'll talk more about what Field Day looks like here. So at 1:00 p.m. on Saturday, if you want to experience the ham radio stuff, and if you want to bring the family, the ASU